Hi guys, Carl behind the camera here for Team Shift, and with the release of Cyberstorm Nexus, we've got some new content for you today, so take us away Polly, what you got?
So this weekend I played the new Superheavy deck, well not really new but with a new support. I played it at locals. I've been testing it quite a lot on DB and I think that it's really good. It has some issues with some cards that people can play in the format, but I still think it's really well positioned coming up for Nats and Euros.
Perfect, let's see the list.
So for main deck, I think quite a lot of people know what the Superheavy cards do now, but I'll just go through the new ones. So the first one is Bike, so you can discard it from your hand to search any Superheavy Samurai monster, and then when it's on the field you can target a machine monster and increase its level by 2. So this allows you to get in, this basically searches your entire deck, and you have a 1-card combo that gets to your entire board, which is like Appaloosa, Regulus, Baron, and you can customize it slightly. There's a few different lines you can do, but yeah, this just increases. It's just a consistency card. It gets you to the card that you need, and it also you can summon it off Excel's Stardust Excel's Dragon to make a Baron really early, so it protects you from like hand traps as well. So this card is just really good. It does basically everything you'd want a card in the deck to do. And then one of the old cards, Soul Piercer. So this is basically the 1-card combo. This is like the best card in the deck. It's a non-once per turn. When it goes from field to grave, you search any Superheavy Samurai monster, and you can like summon this, like you search off it like 5 or 6 times in a combo. So yeah, that's pretty much like the one. This card is the 1 card by itself. There's a few others that basically get to this, but this is the combo. Then you have a Wagon, another older card. This is pretty much just another searcher. So on normal or special, you can change its battle position, and then if it's in defense, you can swap it to attack, and then you add a Superheavy Samurai Soul. So it's such as this, which is the combo, because you can also equip this to this, which basically starts your combo again. And then one of the newer cards is Prodigy. So this card is just insane. I had to proxy it for the weekend because I don't actually own all of them, but it's in scale. You can activate it. It specials itself. So most of the Super Heavy cards say if you don't have anything in your spell and trap, any spell or traps in your grave. So that's like the restriction on the deck, but there's enough monsters that are good, like hand traps and stuff, and your combo is good enough that it doesn't really matter. So if you have no spell and traps in your grave, and this is in the scale, you can special summon it, and then you can place any super heavy Samurai Pendulum card from your deck to your Pendulum scale. So you can place Bank in your scale. And then on the field, you can discard a card to summon a Super Heavy from your deck, but it locks you into Super Heavies for the rest of the turn. You don't ever really use that unless you're playing like the FDK version, which I'm not. But it's still good to know sometimes. And then the last effect is when it's used as a synchro material for a synchro summon from the field, you can place it back in the scale. So it pretty much is just using this card by itself. You get a free summon. If you synchro with it, you get a full set of scales from 1 to 8 to then Pendulum summon, and it's a tuner to like make the Excel and like Baron and all that stuff. So this card is just like these are the 12 cards that are 1-card combos. The start is ever so slightly different on all of them, but it still does the entire board by themselves. And then after that you have the 2 big Benkei. So this is what Prodigy puts into the scale when you summon it, and it's if you have the Pendulum scale effect is if you have a Super Heavy monster on the board, you can add any Super Heavy Samurai Soul. So you can either add the Soul Piercer, or there's a few more like extender cards that you play, like just as one-offs to do what you needed to do. It has another effect where you can send the original Big Benkei from deck to grave to summon itself, but it never actually comes up because you don't play it. Like you don't really need to. It's the scale effect is good enough to allow you to get a free summon off this, and then just add any card that you need to keep going. And then the more like utility Super Heavy cards. We have Soul Peacemaker, Stealthy, Gaia Booster, and Scales. So these are normally one-ofs. Most people only play one, but I decided to play 2 Peacemaker just because I think even in the hands, Droll is a big problem for the deck, and I think if you open this, not only can you play through like Droll and stuff more easily, but you can also just play through a lot more hand traps. So I'll just go through them quickly. So Soul Peacemaker, all the Soul cards pretty much say if they're on field or in your hand, you can attach them as an equip card to any super heavy monster. And then this one is you can tribute the monster it's attached to summon a super heavy card from your deck. So the one that you normally summon is Scales. So Scales is, if it's in your hand and your opponent has 2 monsters or more and you have none, you can just special summon it. It comes up sometimes but not really. And then the actual main effect is when it's normal or special, you can summon a super heavy card from your grave. So what you normally do is you tribute your Link 1 to summon this from deck, and then that summons Soul Piercer to get another search and keep going. So this card is just, you don't ever really want to draw it, you just want to summon it off Soul Peacemaker, that's about it. Sometimes you can pendulum summon it if you open it, so it's not like a hard brick, it's still fine, because this can only summon from your deck, but it's still fine if you open this because you can just pendulum summon it. And then you have the 2 of the newer cards that came out in this set as well. You have Stealthy, so this is if you have no spell and traps in your grave, you can just summon it for free, so it's just a free body extender, and then also you can tribute it and take target a spell and trap in your opponent's grave, set it, and then you can activate it. Obviously if it's a trap card you can't activate it that turn, but and then it gets banished after you activate it. So it's just, sometimes they might have a pot of Prosperity in their grave and you can just summon this. If you need to dig for more stuff, you just tribute it off, activate Prosperity, because obviously you can't play any spells and traps, but this lets you use your opponents if you need to. And then you have Soul Giga Booster, I changed the name slightly. This is like all the other Soul cards, you can attach it from hand or field to any super heavy card monster on the board. And then this one you can just special summon it for free. So it's basically just another level 4 extender, which you need for some of the combos to get into like XEs and stuff. So that's all the super heavy cards. And then for like the additional like one-of machine type cards, you have Infinitrack Tunneler, Ancient Gearbox, Jizukiru, and Regulus. I don't know one, but so you can search all of these. So you don't ever search this. So what you do is you can Gear Geigen X to add box. Then box triggers when it's added to hand to add a machine with 500 attack or defense. So you can add Tunneler, and then you can pendulum summon these. And then Tunneler is basically part of Avarice for machines. So when it's in the grave, you can shuffle back 5 machine monsters and then you draw 2. So this pretty much means, because your deck's already a 1-card combo, you literally end on if you don't get hand trapped, you end on your entire full board and like 6, maybe 7 cards in hand. So obviously you have to discard, but like you literally you get either recovery or like more hand traps. And then Jizukiru and Regulus, we're playing the Champion Sargus in our extra decks to be able to search Regulus as another interrupt. And then we also play Cliffort Genius, so we can search either of these 2, or even Tunneler. And sometimes you just want to, this is good to like just draw back self if you're going second, but also it gives you an out for like towers and stuff. And even if you're going first, sometimes like the combo allows you to just search a Kaiju. So you Kaiju, you have a Tunneler, and then you still have 6 cards in hand. So even if they break your board, you can just Kaiju their big monster, and then you just do your 1-card combo again. So yeah, all of these are like just really good one-offs. Like I think you should probably play them in like almost any version of the deck.
Box isn't too bad either, because you can always discard it for Scarecrow if you draw on it, and Giga can add it from grave and it still triggers.
Yeah, so you have a discard in the deck. The Link one gives you a discard. And then Gear Guide X, instead of, if you draw this, it means it's not a brick, pretty much. So you can always get to Tunneler, because there's no other way to get Tunneler unless you use Cliffort Genius, but you'd rather be searching a Kaiju or just an extra negate. So yeah, it's also a level 4, so it's just good to make XEs and stuff with it. So that's all the like engine part of the deck. And then because you don't play spells and traps, well, you're not allowed to play spells and traps pretty much, The only other cards you can really fit in your deck are either more extenders or hand traps as like your only interruption. So I pretty much just maxed out on hand traps. Some people play like Fenrir, but I didn't have access to one, and I thought it'd still be fine anyway, because it like helps if you get drolled, but if you get drolled, you pretty much you lose quite a lot unless your hand like allows you to play through it somewhat. So for hand traps, I played 3 Ash, 3 Ogre, 3 Neb, 3 Gamma Driver, 2 Veiler, 2 Droll. So the list was a bit thrown together, but from my testing, like Ash is still good because some of the cards are only good against certain matchups and they don't really do much against others. Ash, like it always has been, is just a generic good hand trap. Like it might not win you the game by itself, but it will do enough where your engine can like finish the rest, or if you open another hand trap with it, you can only stop them doing like full combo whatever deck they're playing. Ogre is really good against like super heavy itself. It's not bad against Polley, it's pretty good. And then there's a lot of just like random other decks that you can just like hit. So yeah, I think this card by itself hits the super heavy board quite a lot, and you can do it before like on the Prodigy, which is probably the best place to do it unless you're really scared of Gamma. I didn't really like Nib. I think I might cut it for something else. I don't really know what else. But if you open Nib against like the combo decks, you kind of need to have another hand trap to go with it, because this by itself, it just gets negated. And then against like less combo heavy decks like Polley or stuff, this card is just dead in your hand all the time. So it's a bit iffy. I don't really know if I'd play it again. Maybe, depending on how the format shapes up. And then Gamma is just Gamma, because you get to some spots where if you activate like the bike and you have Gamma in your hand, if they draw you, you just win the game on the spot, because you can just, you Gamma them because you don't have any monsters, you negate the draw, you make a Baron without having to use any of your actual cards, because you can just Axel and then summon back the Gamma and then make a Baron, so it's fine. Like you can probably go even further with your combo if you do that to them. And it's also just one of the best hand traps going second.
Really good for Gamma on the Ogre that they might use on your Wakoshi as well.
Yeah, so you can hit Drolls, you can hit Gammas, you can even hit like Ash on like Bike or something. Like it hits a lot of things that most likely would make you lose the game. Like you can even Gamma like Shifter if you go first. So it's just, there's so much you can do with this card. I think you have to play it in this deck just because of how bad Droll is against you. And then for the other ones, Droll and Veiler. I think, I don't know, Droll's a bit iffy because I think a lot of people are interested in playing Polley, and because Polley's just all quick play spells, they just add like 2, 3, 4 cards in their draw phase, and then you draw them on the continuous spell, and they're like, okay, I don't care. So,
but similar to Runic, I guess.
Yeah, like Runic Sprite, if they open like Starter and like a Runic card, like your draw isn't really doing anything against them, because they can just summon Jet in their main phase and it's fine. But so I think I might move Droll to the side, but against like super heavy, you can just wait. You don't have to draw them on the first thing if they like Bike. You can just literally wait until they have a monster and then you draw them, and then you stop like 2, 3, 4 negates or interrupts or something, so it's still probably fine. So yeah, kind of depends on where the format ends up with like all of these, to be honest. It's not bad, but it's just, it's kind of like Nib, where it's good. It's really good against the matchups where it's good against, but it basically does nothing against the others, or it stops one interruption and it doesn't do enough. And then Veiler, I kind of just needed an extra spot, obviously, because I'm not playing Fenrir or anything. I've got the space, and it's like the best hand trap after the rest of these, probably. So yeah, you can probably play like Mourners or stuff. I don't know if Bistils are good enough, and I don't think you can play like Crow or anything. So I think there's a few more cards that obviously you can play in place of these, but I think these were good enough. So that is 40 cards, because you want to see your 1-card combo. And then on to extra. So you have your 2 Scarecrows. So this is kind of new. It came out in the last like couple of years or something. It's just you can make it with any super heavy samurai monster. So you summon the Soul Piercer, make this, and then you get a search, and that's literally your entire combo there. And it has the effect of if you have no spell and traps in your grave, you take no battle damage with it. So because it's 0 attack, it's like they can't like kill you through it. Like Polley can't just like summon happiness and like just attack into it because it doesn't matter because you're not going to take any damage. But you never really end on it anyway. It doesn't really matter. And then the actual good effect is you can discard a card, summon a super heavy from your grave back to a zone it points to. So you summon back Soul Piercer and just keep going. So yeah, you just play 2 just because you need 1 for the combo, and then you play for follow up like turn 3 or whatever. You can just make another one.
Or for Diablosis, I suppose.
Yeah, if they hit this, you're in a bit of a sticky spot. But and then the other links are Genius, Unicorn, Appaloosa, Access Code, and Goddess. So Genius is pretty standard in all the lists. So this card is actually, it does a lot more than just search a card. The first effect, it takes 2 machine monsters. It's unaffected by the effects of other link monsters and spell and trap cards. So it's good to just summon into back row decks because they can't really out it. And then you can also target 1 face-up card you control, except this one, and a face-up card your opponent controls and negate them both. So you can just target your scale that you've already used and a face-up card like for anything on their board, like spell or trap or monster, just negate it for the turn. And then if you summon 2 monsters at the same time to the zones it points to, you can search a level 5 or higher machine monster. So this is how you search mainly the Jizukiri or the Regulus, if you want to search it that way. And then Appaloosa, you're always making your combo because it's just, you have so many bodies. After you summon this, you just turn this into other monsters into an Appaloosa, so you get 3 negates on it. Unicorn Access Code, you don't have a lot of removal. Like you can summon a lot of bodies, but sometimes you just need to like Unicorn spin something, Access Code pop 2, and then like get in that way. And then Goddess, I was really scared with this deck against going against like Chaos Angel or like Towers, because obviously you have the Jizukiri, but Goddess just means that you don't, like, if your Genius gets stopped or something, you can still just like outboards, because if someone summons a Chaos Angel against you, you kind of just lose the game. Like you don't have an out because you can't play spells and traps, so it's just unaffected and you can't kill it by battle. So yeah, probably don't actually need this because you play the Jizukiri and you can just like try to protect the Genius search off it, because I don't think anyone's really going to hit the Genius. So yeah, maybe I could change the Goddess for something else, but even then it's still just a good card going in like second and stuff. So that's all the links. And for Xyz, play Baguska, Gear Gigan, the Sargus package, and Zeus. So Baguska is really good if you get like hand trapped enough, you can just like sit on it and it's just good enough most of the time to just sit on this, and then you can just like, if you do get drolled and you just make this, you normally have like your scales set for the big Benkei. So if you just have any super heavy card, you can just search Soul Piercer, normal Soul Piercer, and then you just do your combo again. So Baguska is like really good. Gear Gigan, obviously part of the combo, you can add back box from anywhere, and it's also just an XZ that you can make with 2 4s just to make a Zeus. And then the Merrymaker package is, I think it's really good because during the combo you can summon this and use this to search the Regulus, so your Genius can search the Jizukiri. And it also just means you can make a 4 material Zeus, and you don't have to play it because you can't play downward or anything. So you can make, you just overlay 2 monsters into this, summon Sargus search Regulus, and then this also has another effect. It didn't actually come up, but most of the time I end on this on my board, because you can either end on this, or you can put it into an Appaloosa for another negate. So this means that you can, if an XE material is detached from an XE monster, it doesn't matter whether it's your monster or their monster, you can pop a card on the field. So it's not come up, but I think people are going to forget about it at some point, and then you just get a free pop and you probably win the game off of it. But that obviously is not the main reason you play it. So yeah. and then you have the 3 synchros. Excel, Baron, and then Savage. Some people are playing the Saratobi level 8 synchro that you can pop. It can attack and defense, and it's also you can target a spell and trap on the field, destroy it, and your opponent takes 500 damage. So in time you can pop your own scale and then burn them. But I just think Savage like just comes up more. Like you can just make your end board better, and like going second if you get like hand trapped. Even if you go first and you get hand trapped, and maybe you can't make a Baron, you can just make a Savage, and it gives you an extra interrupt. So yeah, I think the only thing I'd actually cut from this is maybe the Goddess and change it for something else, but I don't know what I'd actually change it for. So yeah, that's the extra, and then side. My side isn't amazing, but it covers most of the stuff that I think I'd go against. So 3 Retaliating C and Contact C. So the Retaliating C is you can use it against Branded, you can use it against Polley, like this is really good against Polley. And then the Contact C is for getting searched off the Retaliating C if they out it, because this is still really good against like Polley, because it forces them to have to make a link or something, and you just make the players a bit annoying. And especially against like Branded, if they're not playing the Sprint, I think it is, you pretty much just win the game because they don't do anything else with it because they only play fusions. I didn't actually see this, so I don't actually know how good it is, but in theory, it seems to be quite good. I don't know if I'd actually play the Contact C after more thought about it. I don't think you actually need it. I think this does enough of a job by itself. And then 3 Bestials. Yeah, just standard, good against Branded, good against quite a lot of Rogue and whatever. It's just big bodies because you can't play.
Mathmech as well.
Yeah, I'd seen Mathmech gets a lot better next set. I didn't actually play any, but I just think Bestials are really good, especially in this deck because you can't play spells and traps anyway. So they're always good cards to have side ready. And then Eccentrics, because obviously most spell and trap removal are spells and traps. You need something that can like clear problem cards if you need to, or you would get some back row matchup. Like you don't want to really be siding like Contact C's or anything. So you can just Eccentric is just you can put it in your scale and it pops a spell and trap they control. And then if it's on your field, so you can Pendulum Summon it because it's a 3 and your scales go 1 to 8. You can just tribute it and pop any monster they control. So it's like it outs 2 cards by itself because obviously when you put it in the scale and you destroy a card, it goes to extra deck, so you can summon it again. The other card like this is Mythical Beast Garuda. Garuda's a level 4, which might come up instead of this being a level 3, but I think the effect of this tributing itself off and popping a monster would come up more than Garuda did. So obviously if you just want more spell and trap removal, you can just play Garuda on top of this. And then a couple extra hand traps because I didn't really know what else to play, just the extra Veil and the extra draw. Maybe I should have played Morna or like Bell instead, but I'll figure that out later. And then the last card is Anti-Spell. So the deck doesn't work if you have spell and traps in your grave, but obviously this is continuous, so it doesn't actually go to grave unless they put it in the grave. But they're not going to put it in the grave because you have enough negates on your board. And this pretty much stops like one of the problem cards that I talked about earlier. Well, actually both of them, the 2 main ones I think, apart from Droll, is Dark Ruler and the 5 Rainbow Magician Performer power card. So Droll is obviously a big problem and there's not really anything to stop it except for like Gamma. But this just means like you have no other interruption except hand traps and what's on your board as monsters. So Dark Ruler like probably negates like half your interruptions just by itself, and then they can just make a Zeus and clear your board. And you have follow up, but like you'd rather them not out of your board. So this basically stops that. And then 5 Rainbow Magician is probably one of the worst cards that someone can activate against you, just because like you can never out it. The only outs are like this. And that's about it, because obviously you can't use anything on the field. You can still like get your searches from like Soul Pierce and stuff, but you're not outing the actual card. That's the problem, because they can still play or whatever. If they're playing Branded, they can just activate the Performer Power, set a card, and just play, and they can just keep the card set because they don't need to use it because your board doesn't do anything. And even going second, they can just activate the card and then set one, and now your board's turned off. And the only negate that does anything on your board that like actually stops the 5-star is Baron. But obviously 5-star has the other 5 rainbow, has the other effect of when it's in the grave, if you set a card, you just place it back on the scale. So in theory, if someone activates 5 Rainbow Magician against you, it uses 3 or 4 negates by 1 card if they have like any other card in their hand. So it just forces up so much of your board that any other like regular deck can probably just break through it. So that is like the 3 biggest problems in the deck are I think the deck has a Droll, Dark Ruler, and 5 Rainbow. So this pretty much negates 2 of them by itself. So I think you just, not that you have to play it, but I think it's good enough when you go first to just guarantee that you win the game. Because if they don't open one of those cards, your board is just good enough and you just win, like most combo decks. So yeah, that's about it. I think the only thing that really needs to be changed in the deck is maybe the non-engine, because I think the engine itself is completely fine. Maybe there's room for 1 extender, but I don't really think you need it. You're like, your deck does enough and you search enough and you have enough extenders as it is to like break a board or make your full board. It's just seeing where the format goes and seeing what monsters you want to play as your non-engine. And then obviously the side deck needs a bit of work, but yeah, I think the deck's going to be strong, like a lot of people think. I just don't know if it's going to be tier 0, as some people think.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Polley. Any shout outs at all?
So shout out Carl, Luke, everyone that lent me cards over the weekend. I can't really remember, but shout out the team, shout out Zombie Games Cafe. Use code SHIFT5 at checkout for 5% off.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Cheers.